Hello everyone, my name is Wayne and my Disney Infinity ID is Sumerian. Welcome to Fun with Logic, where we will be going into the toy box and doing some more advanced connections of the Creativity toys, just to see what we can make Disney Infinity 2.0 do for us. Hello everyone, this is Sumerian and this tutorial is going to be on how to do some more advanced things with the cameras. I recently did a toy box that I actually really enjoyed because of the way at the very intro, it does a panoramic view of the landscape around you with a camera. And then it actually follows the flight of Dival, the bird from Maleficent, as he flies to her. I kind of liked the effect. It was really cool, I thought. So I'm going to show you how I did it. So as you can see here, I've already put out a little landscape. I've got a little crater-like effect here. I've got a hill and I've got a flat. You probably just saw the camera that I've got sitting right here, and I've got another camera up here. And what we're going to do first is the panoramic view, how to make that happen. And I've also done a lot of the terrain I'm going to need, because below here you'll actually see there is another piece of terrain, and then there is a circular type ramp all the way around it. And then I believe over here you'll see a very similar landscape to what we have above with the two hills. And we've also got a locator sitting just approximately about right where the camera is. So we're going to do the panoramic first, and how we're going to do this is we are going to take advantage of a few of the properties of camera. We're going to go into the properties here, and the transition, let's say swing, just because I kind of like swing. The camera type. Now the camera type, there's three types, and until recently a lot of them didn't make that much sense. When you choose stationary, the camera's going to point at one spot in space and it's never going to move. That's where it's going to point. That's fairly obvious. Then there's focus and follow. Now we're going to use both focus and follow for what we're doing here. Follow will, as it says, follow an object. It'll actually keep up with it and everything like that. It'll travel along with it. And focus will keep the camera in the location it's at, but it will actually move the camera to follow whatever you have it focused on, I suppose the best way to say it. So this camera is actually going to be set to focus. And transition, swing, why not? Player viewport. Triggering player is common to keep, but I like to say all players, because if there's multiple players and something cool is about to happen, I want everyone to be able to see it. So I usually go with all players. I'm not 100% sure on glow through. When I used a camera, I've seen town people glowing through the terrain that I was looking at, so perhaps that's what it's all about. Camera target. Camera target can be connected locator, and that's usually when you're going to want to try to do something stationary, because if you can't make a locator move. You can have it focus on players, and for what we're going to be doing, we're going to be using triggering actor for our camera target. And what we're going to do is we're going to want it to pan, let's say from this corner, and we're going to pan down to here, and then we're going to pan over, and then we're going to pan over, and then we're going to pan back. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do that with a pretty simple object. We're going to do it with a ball. We are going to use a physics ball and some wind, or what are those things? We're going to need some trigger areas. We're going to make this effect work with a physics ball. And what we're going to need is we're going to need some trigger areas. I'm just going to lay them down right here for now so I can just grab them instead of having to scroll through and find them again. We're also going to need a weather vane for each direction. Because I'm just using the cardinal directions, I don't need locators to point them in specific up or down. I'm just using the 4 cardinal directions here. And I'm going to need a locator, which I will put right about there. And I must have passed it already. I'm going to want a falling objects generator, which I'll put over in the middle. And I will set his locator right there. So what I want to happen is I want a ball to spawn, and I want it to ride the edge of these balls all the way around. So I'm going to put a trigger area over where the ball is going to spawn. And I'm going to put another trigger area where I want the ball to start to change direction. Let's see, right about there. I don't know why I would lay the other trigger areas out like that. Trigger area right about there. Change that a bit right there. And then we're going to put another trigger area right around here. And then a final one right about here. Get rid of these ones. I didn't need them, I guess. Wasn't thinking that through. So I want to set these weather vanes so that they are only going to affect an object that triggers them. They're also going to be being affected by triggering actors. And I don't want them blowing too hard. I'm going to say 5. Now the reason I'm doing this by triggering actor and not physics ball is because you could have a big map, you could have some other physics balls somewhere in the game. You don't want everything to get affected. You don't want a bunch of balls blowing around all your maps all over the place. Just affecting the one ball is the best way I find to do it. So what I'm going to say is when a physics ball appears in this trigger area, I want it to go that way, but I also want to make sure it rides the side. So I'm also going to push it this way, just to make it nice and clean looking, so it's not trying to bounce around everywhere. I'm also going to turn on him. And then when the ball gets here, I want to stop pushing this way, and I want to start going that way. So I'm going to turn him off, and I'm going to turn the other one on. Now I still want it pushing this direction like it still is, because that will keep it up against this wall so it won't bounce around all over the place. I want to turn him on. And then when it gets over here, I want to stop pushing this way and start pushing the other way. So I want him to stop pushing in this direction. And I want him to start pushing in the opposite direction. And then when we get to this final trigger area here, I want to continue pushing that direction, but I want to stop pushing this way and start pushing the other way. And then when I hit here, I just want to get rid of the physics ball. I'm done. So I will say move up. Now I'm going to put a button down here for right this second so we can see what's happening. And all this button is going to do is make a ball spawn. And I'm going to choose a bowling ball because I find they're nice and heavy. They don't bounce a lot like some of the other balls. And in this, we want a nice smooth look. So I want to start that bowling ball, and there he goes. He's going to follow that wall, and he's going to get all the way down there. Now you'll notice he's going to speed up. And if you want it to be a uniform speed, you'll actually have to start putting more trigger areas in to actually kill the speed or stop the push for a while, just to slow it down and then start the push again. But for this simple tutorial, we're just going to show you that. And the ball's gone. Excellent. So now there's only one more thing we need, or two more things we want to do. You want to say when the ball first originates, so when it first enters this trigger area, we also want to start this camera. And this camera is set to follow the triggering object, and the ball just triggered it in the trigger area because we went with the physics ball. And when a physics ball enters this final one, we want to turn that camera back off. Just so we've got all our bases covered. The camera's going to go away when it's done. So now if I push the button, and you know the button is just hooked up to make that falling object generator make a ball, but now because the camera's going to trigger, we should see a little panoramic effect as our camera follows that ball around the terrain below this top terrain, but our camera is above this terrain, so all we are seeing is the top terrain. We don't see the ball. We don't know that ball is traveling around below us. It just looks like a cool little camera effect where we are panning around our terrain. So that is how you make a cool little pan effect. Fairly simple, and it works really well actually. So the other effect I want to do in this tutorial is I want to have a camera basically follow this terrain. I want this camera to look like it's going down this hill. And as I showed you over here, I made a very similar terrain as the one up there. And the reason I did that is because I can spawn a ball down here where you can't see it. And it's far enough away, as you see, the camera's way over there. This isn't much lower than our terrain, but it's far enough away that the angle of the camera will be pointed down slightly, but it should still look pretty good. And all we need, again, is we need an action button to start everything. And this one will be pretty simple because we just need the falling object generator. And we need to connect it to this locator right here. And we want a trigger area. And this time, because it's a hill, I don't need to push it too much, but I do need to push the ball a bit just to get it going. So I want a weather vane, but I also want a time delayer. And a time delayer is great because a time delayer and a logic gate, unlike a lot of these creativitoys, will pass triggering actor information. I believe I've already covered that in one of my tutorials, but we're going to say entered physics ball. Start delay and entered physics ball on. This delay complete is going to turn, so it'll only be a momentary push from this weather vane. I'll set it to triggering actor again, and hopefully 1 second will be enough to make that ball go. We're going to set this button up to spawn another bowling ball, just because, again, for the effect I want right now. I don't want a lot of bouncing, and a bowling ball doesn't bounce anywhere near like a soccer ball or a basketball does. So if I push this button, we should have a ball spawn there, and hopefully we've got enough push for it that it will go to the hill and start rolling down. Excellent. Now I'm going to take the trigger area, try and keep it on the same line, bring it right down here, and this trigger area is going to be, if the physics ball enters, we are going to remove that ball. And then all we should have to do is say, if a physics ball enters this spot, we want the camera that is on the same position on the hill to start. Now, while we're at the camera, let's fix its properties, because they're a little different than the top one. We're just going to cut straight to it. And in this case, instead of focus like we did above, we want the camera to follow the ball. So as the ball travels, the camera is actually going to follow it, which is going to give us the effect we want. We're going to go with all players, and the camera target again is going to be the triggering actor. And then I'm going to go to that final trigger area and say, when the ball gets here, turn that camera off. And then we will push that button and see what happens. Okay, now let's push this button and see what's going to happen. Now I've got it set to cut, so we should instantly go over to that camera. And as you can see, we don't see the ball. We're just traveling along the train, and then when the ball starts rolling down the train, we're actually following the train. And I could have kept that ball going, I could have kept the train going, but I just love the effect of like a first person following the train camera view, and this is how you accomplish it. I hope you've all learned something. I hope you use this to make some amazing toy boxes, and everyone have a great day.